For nearly a decade, the silence was deafening. While the tabloids ran rampant with rumors of infidelity, thruples, and a breakdown that landed a Hollywood icon in the hospital, Demi Moore refused to speak. She was the ghost star, the highest-paid actress of the 1990s, the woman married to Bruce Willis and then, in a twist that shocked the world, the much older bride of young heartthrob Ashton Kutcher. The narrative was written for her. She was the cougar who got burned, the jealous wife left behind for a younger woman. But Demi Moore is not a victim. And now, at 62, fresh off the critical triumph of The Substance and years removed from the wreckage of that 6-year marriage, Moore has finally broken her silence. Using her raw, unflinching memoir Inside Out and recent introspective interviews, Moore is reclaiming her story. What she reveals about her marriage to Kutcher isn't just tabloid fodder, it is a harrowing tale of addiction, manipulation, and the desperate lengths a woman will go to for love. From allegations of shaming involving a photograph of her passed out on a toilet, to a toxic cycle of threesomes that destroyed her self-worth, the truth is more disturbing than the gossip columns ever imagined. Try not to gasp, but you will. To understand the crash, you have to understand the high. In the early 2000s, Demi Moore was rebuilding. After a highly publicized split from Bruce Willis, a divorce handled with such grace that they famously remained friends and even vacationed together, Moore was ready for a new chapter. She retreated from the Hollywood rat race to focus on raising her daughters, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah, in the serene enclave of Hailey, Idaho. Enter Ashton Kutcher. He was 25. She was 40. He was the star of that 70s show and the face of MTV's Punk'd, the cheeky, irreverent prince of pop culture. When they met at a dinner party in 2003, the chemistry was immediate and alarming. In her memoir, Moore describes their initial attraction as a collision of two people hiding in plain sight. The irony, she writes, was that the thing I thought gave us such strength that everyone thought our differences were our biggest obstacles was the thing that I think actually brought about the demise. The world saw a saucy May-December romance. But Moore reveals that the foundation was cracked from the start by her own insecurity. She had been sober for 20 years, a pillar of strength in Hollywood. But to be the cool wife for a younger man who was still enjoying his 20s, Moore began to question her identity. She wanted to be the fun, normal girl, a stark contrast to the serious actress the public knew. This desire to mold herself into what she thought Kutcher wanted would lead her down a very dark path. The early warning signs were hidden behind designer sunglasses and red carpet smiles. Moore admits that she began drinking again during the marriage, breaking 2 decades of sobriety in a desperate attempt to match Kutcher's energy and lower her inhibitions. It was a slow unraveling. She writes about a specific trip to Mexico for her 45th birthday, where things turned terrifyingly dark. She recounts an incident involving a hot tub, a night where the combination of alcohol and exhaustion caused her to slip under the water. Kutcher pulled her out. One would expect a moment of tenderness, a wake-up call. Instead, Moore writes that his reaction was one of fury. The romance was replaced by a dynamic reminiscent of a parent scolding a child. The tension escalated into psychological warfare. Moore claims that after nights of heavy drinking encouraged by their social circle, Kutcher would document the aftermath. The most chilling anecdote involves a photograph. Moore alleges that Ashton took a picture of her resting her head on a toilet seat after a night of being sick. At the time, she tried to laugh it off as a good-natured joke. But writing the memoir gave her a new perspective. It was really just shaming, she writes. The act of taking a photo of your wife at her lowest point, not to help her up, but to hold it as evidence of her failure, signaled a deep rot in the relationship. It was a hint that the man she loved was capable of cruelty masquerading as humor. As the years passed, the pressure inside the Kutcher-Moore household became unbearable. The age gap, that 15-year chasm, began to yawn wide open. Relationship experts have speculated that Kutcher's alleged infidelity stemmed from a desire for a traditional family. Demi is significantly older than Ashton, relationship expert Steve Ward noted during the height of the scandal. My guess is that they tried having a family together. Her children are Bruce Willis's children. I think he really wants to start a family himself. This biological reality created a ticking clock. Moore, who had 3 daughters, was nearing 50. Kutcher was entering his prime. In a desperate bid to keep the marriage exciting and to satisfy Kutcher's fantasies, Moore agreed to bring a third person into their bed. It was the worst mistake of her life. In Inside Out, Moore writes that the threesomes were his idea, a fantasy she didn't want to participate in but felt compelled to embrace to prove she wasn't old or boring. She put him first, contorting her own values to fit the mold of the woman he wanted. When he expressed his fantasy of bringing a third person into our bed, I didn't say no, she writes. I wanted to show him how great and fun I could be. Rather than bringing them closer, the threesomes drove a dagger through the center of her soul. She describes a feeling of profound shame and invisibility. The act of watching her husband with someone else didn't make her feel liberated, it made her feel like a prop. Worse, she alleges that Kutcher later used those encounters to justify his own extramarital affairs. He twisted the narrative, implying that because they had opened the bedroom door, his cheating wasn't cheating. It was a devastating betrayal of her trust. The breaking point came in 2011. The tabloids exploded with the story of a massage girl, Sarah Leal, with whom Kutcher allegedly cheated on the weekend of their 6th wedding anniversary. While that scandal was breaking, Moore reveals a deeper, more private horror. She was pregnant. The couple had been trying to have a child, hoping that a baby would repair the fractured dynamic. But 6 months into the pregnancy, disaster struck. Moore suffered a miscarriage. It was a devastating, life-altering loss. It was a wanted pregnancy, she reflects in her memoir, the grief still palpable. Instead of coming home to mourn with his wife, Kutcher reportedly withdrew, and the accusations of infidelity swirled. Moore was left alone in their home, physically recovering from the trauma of losing a child while the world laughed at her online as the washed-up wife of a hot young star. The betrayal wasn't just about sex, it was about abandonment. She had sacrificed her sobriety, her privacy, and her body for this man, and at the moment of her greatest need, he was gone. She eventually spiraled. The woman who once commanded $12.5 million for striptease found herself smoking a synthetic form of incense, a legal high at the time, and collapsing in her living room. In 2012, she was rushed to the hospital after suffering a seizure and smoking something akin to incense. It was the rock bottom that finally forced her to look in the mirror. But before she could heal, she had to tell the world the truth about the sex, the lies, and the shaming. The truth emerged not in an interview with Oprah, but in the pages of Inside Out, published in 2019. By then, the divorce had been finalized in 2013. Kutcher had moved on, marrying his That 70s Show co-star Mila Kunis in 2015, with whom he has 2 children, the family he reportedly always wanted. Moore was left to pick up the pieces alone. And the truth was brutal. Moore does not paint herself as a saint. She admits she was addicted to the drama. She admits she lost herself. But she finally called Kutcher's behavior what it was, emotional abuse. The most shocking allegation, which she had kept secret for years, was that Kutcher used their sexual history to excuse his affairs. He would say that because we had brought a third person into our relationship, that it blurred the lines and justified what he'd done, she wrote. To hear a woman who survived the predatory landscape of 1980s Hollywood say she felt used by her younger husband is a gut punch. She also revealed the final insult. During a particularly dark period of her drinking, Kutcher allegedly tried to stage an intervention. But the method wasn't professional or kind. According to her account, he sent her a photo of herself passed out on a toilet with a message like, "I didn't sign up for this." The shaming was the final knife twist. For years, Kutcher has largely stayed silent on the specifics, though he has made subtle gestures of acknowledging the past. In a 2020 interview, he noted there was no badness between them, though he conceded they weren't exactly hanging out. More recently, in a surprising turn of events in early 2026, Kutcher publicly praised Moore's career resurgence. Time has a way of rewriting narratives. Today, Demi Moore is not the discarded wife. She is the triumphant veteran. At 62, she has earned the best reviews of her career for The Substance, a film that savagely critiques Hollywood's obsession with youth. In a delicious twist of irony, her ex-husband was asked about the film in January 2026. Ashton Kutcher, now 47, told Entertainment Tonight that he was so proud of her. I mean, 1. Demi's performance in The Substance, obviously she got extraordinary accolades. I'm so proud of her. She killed it, Kutcher said, marking a rare public comment about his ex-wife. He even drew a line connecting the film's themes to his own new show, The Beauty. Moore seems unbothered by the late praise. She has moved on, not by finding another man, but by finding herself. She is reconciled with Bruce Willis, supporting him through his diagnosis of aphasia and dementia, and rebuilt her relationship with her daughters, who stood by her through the darkest days. In finally opening up, Demi Moore has done something radical for a woman in her 60s. She has turned her pain into power. She has admitted that she was willing to destroy herself for a man who wasn't worth it. But she survived. The gasp comes not just from the salacious details of threesomes and toilet photos, but from the realization that the love story we all watched from the red carpet was actually a horror movie. It is a cautionary tale about what happens when a woman tries to be small for a man who only knows how to look at himself. Demi Moore is finally speaking, and the world is finally listening and wincing.